Question for you. How is your electric bill these days? Mine is
Painful.
sky high.
Painful. And every time I see it, I'm shocked.
Yep.
And that's why governors from 13 states are pushing for a stronger voice in how the country's largest power grid is run. PJM Interconnection supplies power to 65 million people across those states and DC. And demand from AI data centers is outpacing the connection of New Jersey sources. Governors have threatened to pull their states out of PJM if costs continue to climb. The push reflects a broader battle over who controls the future of the U.S. power grid.
Joining us now is Jesse Lee, Senior Advisor for Clean Energy with Climate Power. First of all, Jesse, thanks for being with us.
Morning.
Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, electricity prices across the country, wow, they are rising faster than inflation, up nearly 27% since 2019. This is every year since the first Trump administration to Biden's administration, isn't it?
Yeah, although we're in a particular crunch right now because, as you say, the data centers are kind of exponentially growing and their power needs are exponentially growing. And at the same time, you have an administration right now that is on a bit of a crusade to stop any wind or solar or renewable energy projects from being built. And those are really the projects. They accounted for 94% of our new energy capacity last year. So when you block all of those, suddenly you have this giant mismatch between dramatically escalating demand and kind of cratering supply. And that's a recipe for really high utility bills. They're up just 10% since President Trump came into office.
It really feels like this is a 2019 issue, really more so than a President Trump related story. I mean, those in Connecticut, like myself, have seen bills up 40% since 2019. Taking politics out of this, or is it possible? Maybe it's not. Just a broad, why is it so far outpacing inflation?
Well, I don't think it is really a politics question. Like I say, it's that fundamental supply and demand question, right? Econ 101, where, the reason they are going up is because, since 2019, you've had these new data centers for AI and to some extent crypto kind of coming online faster and faster. And they just eat up gargantuan amounts of energy, set to increase total energy demand by something like 25% over the next 10 years. And so that's kind of what's been driving these prices up. And, on the supply side, like I say, you've got natural gas, but there's like a 5 to 7 year wait time backlog for new natural gas turbines. So they can't really come in and meet that demand. The only things that really can are wind and solar. And like I say, right now, the federal government is basically blocking, they have kind of a ban on any new projects for wind and solar.
And Jesse, the question is, critics are saying that aging grids, more extreme weather, that there's going to be more costly upgrades. Isn't this going to cost even more money? I mean, where do we go from here?
Yeah, well, I think that's absolutely true that the grid is going to need a lot of investment. There actually was a fair amount of investment in that, about $10 billion under the bipartisan Infrastructure Act under President Biden. But you're going to need more of that. Right now is a time where I think if you invested heavily in domestic wind and solar, what you would see is you'd see prices on that come down further and further as it kind of comes to scale. And that's what we were kind of seeing. Right now it's been kind of cut off. And I think it's going to be an untenable situation to stay in that place for the remainder of the Trump administration, because you're going to see, like I say, it's up 10% just since President Trump came into office, and it hasn't even been a full year yet. And so if you're talking about going up 30-40% over the Trump administration, that's going to be a real crisis for people. It really already is.
And we haven't even talked about the transition to AI electric vehicles, which we are ill prepared for. How ill-equipped are we to handle both AI, electric vehicles, and sorry for the double, but what can we do about it? What can either power companies or elected officials do to solve this crisis?
Yeah, I mean, in addition to, really returning to a place where we're all of the above kind of energy strategy, which I think is where most Americans are, is, we just want kind of more energy from wherever you get it, whether that's wind or solar or even natural gas. In addition to that, there is something to the idea that you need to, have better permitting, kind of permitting reform where you can get projects online faster. Again, all of the above. And there is something to the fact that, PGM talked about, they have been kind of neglectful in bringing new projects that are ready to go onto the grid. And so that's a little bit of what these governors are talking about, is how can they kind of, put their foot down and, demand that the utilities really do their part to keep bills lower for people, because, frankly, their incentive is not always to do that.
And a real question is, why are some parts of the country paying more than others? Why is the Northeast, the West, why are they paying more than the middle of the country?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that's actually really true. I think, if you go to climpower.us, you'll find the list of the 15 states that have the biggest rate hikes. And the top of the list is actually Missouri. Indiana is in the mix. Texas is in the mix. And so it really is kind of across the board that is experiencing this. And, and that's why it's a national problem. That's why it's a federal problem that, Congress really should be stepping in and frankly doing kind of the opposite of what they've done, where, the kind of the big beautiful bill, the Republican budget that was passed, really took, in their words, a sledgehammer to the incentives for getting any kind of renewable energy online. And, that's been projected to add about another 100 to $400 to people's utility bills over the next 10 years.
Wow, Jesse Lee, thank you. We really appreciate your insight today.